Happy Mushoku Mondays, everybody. Welcome back to yet another Trek, the Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation novel series. We are on Subjugation of the King Dragons, Part 3. Part 3 of, I don't know how many at this point. We don't know at this point. Yeah, we're going to continue Chapter 3. I got like partway through it and decided to cut off last week's Mushoku Monday. Not get things too long because Chapter 3 was really, really long, but looking forward to diving in further because we were getting a lot into specifically Shina, which again, I'm very curious about with the fact that she has this title of Death God, which is very, very interesting. But yes, before we get into that, thank you guys so much for dropping by for the premiere Hate Chat. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys have a great rest of your week after Mushoku Monday. But yes, I greatly appreciate you guys' kind words, your support. And yes, most importantly, greatly appreciate it. Support channel monetarily through Patreon, tips, links, super thanks, memberships, all that stuff. Thank you. But yeah, with that said, let's just dive right into it again, going into Chapter 3. Just to give people a reminder, we had Alex and Shina, they're going to the market, and they ran into Barkle, which was somebody from Shina's past. And so they made their way back. Once again, silence fell between them. It was already evening. The two waiting at the inn were probably getting hungry. Shina, who usually preferred tranquility, now felt uneasy with this silence. Anyone would, after sharing their life story and receiving only 2 or 3 words in response. Come on, I'll give her a little bit more than that. He didn't seem that way, but could it be that she was rejected? No matter how many times it happened, no matter how many days passed, she would never get used to being rejected, and she didn't want to get used to it either. While sinking into such a negative thoughts, suddenly a shout came from up ahead. A fight! The voice was urgent, but with a hint of excitement. Watching other people fight is fun, that's common knowledge. Shina wasn't particularly eager to watch grown men with no skill beat each other senseless, but she wasn't so disinterested that she would ignore a crowd gathered in front of her either. She leaned forward and peeked through a gap in the crowd. It was one of many taverns in the inn district, a very typical place, serving meals by the day and alcohol by night. The tables and chairs had been pushed roughly aside, forming a makeshift arena at the center. People do this a lot. At the center stood 6 people, 3 versus 3. Both sides had drawn their swords. This wasn't just a brawl. It had reached the level of a full-blown death match. I wonder if this is like the leopard dudes and somebody else. No wonder a crowd had formed. Seems a simple fight can draw so many people around here, huh? Al murmured beside her in amazement. Do they not do this from where you're from? Not really. I mean, fights break out several times a day. If everyone gathered each time, nobody would get any work done. Your hometown sure sounds like a dangerous town, Al. Shannon turned her eyes back to the scene. If it wasn't just a fight between amateurs, she was interested. Both sides were swordsmen, but their swords were different in shape. One side wielded single-edged blades, curved and thin, meant for cutting people. The other wielded double-edged blades, straight and thick, meant for cutting through armor. Just from that, Shina judged the side with the double-edged swords had a disadvantage. What's more, the attire of the single-edged sword users stood out. Blue leopard print jackets, yep. The Royal Knights Order versus the Blue Leopard Division, huh? Who do you think will win, Shina? He's already taking bets on this. Oh, how do you know they were from the Royal Knights Order? I saw them at the tavern the other day. That's our sword. There's also a crest from the King Dragon Realm on their pommel. Looking more closely, she could see that too. The crest of a crowned dragon. She was surprised that he noticed it. So, who do you think has the edge? The mercenaries, assuming their numbers are even. By the time she had said that, the first clash had already ended. It wasn't even a contest. That was the only way to describe it. The mercenaries dropped 2 knights into a pool of blood with just 1 swing each. Of course there was a skill gap, but also a difference in swords themselves. Yeah, it's a lot to do with equipment. I guess it also depends on, again, what this Royal Knight Order does. Again, mercenaries, what they're kind of implying here, since there's this issue with all of what's going on in the world right now, mercenaries are kind of being, probably recruited by different nations and whatnot. Probably into a lot of, invasions and whatnot. These people are used to fighting people. With the Royal Knights Order, they could be doing several different things, dispatching monsters or something like that. So, based on the equipment, the assumption here is that the mercenaries are built for fighting somebody, whereas the Knights Order, again, seemingly are fighting people with armor. The Royal Knights wielded broad, great swords designed to be used with heavy armor and provide them with greater defensive capabilities. You could say they were built to slay giant beasts like king dragons, or armored humans, yeah. In contrast, the Blue Leopard's divisions, wielding killing swords, meant for efficiently killing humans in war. Yep. Ordinary mercenaries usually only had slightly better skills than brutes for hire. But the Blue Leopard's division belonged to the renowned Wild Leopard Mercenary Corps, said to be the strongest. They were elite fighters, prepared for high-level tasks of slaying the King of the King Dragons. Even with fewer numbers, each one of them was skilled enough to serve as a sword instructor for a kingdom. Yeah, and it also kind of leans more towards that idea of them being involved with killing all these mages. Have swords that are really good for cutting people, right? I don't know, there's a side of me that almost feels like it's trying too hard to paint it being the leopards that did the killing. Like the fact that they were the ones that brought the crowns back, and now they're right here emphasizing the fact that they can kill people very, very well. It kind of gives this impression of like it's trying too hard to make you believe it was them, but it wasn't actually them. And this could be what's caused this right now, is that the Royal Knights Order is coming after the leopards about the situation, and they're getting pissed off about it. But again, the question there is, were they even informed about this? Like, I got a sense that with Barkle, it seemed that they knew. So I'd assume the Royal Knights Order knows. The Royal Knights Order were no amateurs either, but wielding oversized swords without armor inside a building left them in a clear disadvantage. Yeah, they don't have an armor. Yeah, they're screwed. This outcome had been obvious. Ugh, damn you. The fallen knights clutched their arms, but still glared at the mercenaries. Apparently, they weren't fatally wounded. The mercs had held back. Despite their difference in skill, they were smart. Killing them would have made a conflict with the Royal Knights Order unavoidable. So instead, they just cut their arms. No need to go for the kill. But wouldn't they still end up... I mean, if they're doing something wrong here and the Royal Knights Order is coming after them for breaking the law, if this is just a, disagreement or something like that, either way, they could easily paint them as being criminals and just lock them up. Especially right now, since it's assault now. It's just that there's a chance that you're probably still going to have a conflict. It was an uncharacteristically cautious decision for mercenaries, but in this case, it was the right one. And with that, the fight ended. So much for the Knights of the Great Kingdom. If only one of the mercenaries hadn't let out such a derisive snort. Unfortunately, someone saw that. One of the men watching from afar, a knight of the King Dragon realm, likely on patrol, and flew into a rage. How dare you! You mock us! Huh? If a few off-duty knights had got drunk and picked a fight with the mercenaries and got hurt, the patrolling knight probably wouldn't have batted an eye. As long as no one died, it would have just been a case of overconfident colleagues getting what they deserved. But the mocking sneer touched a nerve. Well, I guess that implies right there that, yeah, they're going to overlook it. Like, they're going to allow this. He couldn't ignore an insult aimed at the entire Knights Order. The mercenaries had knowingly struck knights, which meant the ones lying on the ground were not just civilians. They were royal knights, and if the Knights Order stood by and did nothing, they'd be seen as cowards who let comrades get cut down. That would disgrace the Royal Knights Order of the King Dragon realm. Yeah, get rid of your ego. Toss your ego aside. For mere mercenary knights to raise their hand against King Dragon Knights. Unforgivable. Royal Knights Order, assemble! My gosh. Oh, gosh. Got their ego hurt. Maybe it was just his own victim complex, but some knights responded. Some knights began gathering. Others ran over, hearing the shout. Some who were off duty or on break emerged from nearby shops, and in the blink of an eye, the three mercenaries were surrounded. It's like these people jumping out of windows and jumping from top of roofs and coming out of stores and emerging from baskets. Just jumping out of a nearby barrel. Oh, come on, you gotta be kidding me. 15, maybe 16. Many wore full suits of armor, some held patrol daggers. Even sword masters couldn't do much when surrounded with no escape. The three mercenaries stood back to back, swords drawn, but their faces were pale. You're not going to cry foul now, are you? One of the knights stepped forward. The crowd stirred. Leonardo, Pompadour, why is the Knights Commander here? The Amazing Lion. That's amazing, Leo. Among the knights encircling the mercenaries was Leonardo Pompadour, the commander of the Royal Knights Order. A man famous for making the impossible possible, the one who raised the name of the Royal Knights Order across the neighboring nations. He was not the kind to get involved with a back alley tavern brawl, but he must have happened to be nearby, and once present, he had no choice but to step forward as Knights Commander. That's what Shina surmised. Although he was the one in the position to be able to stop this, Knights valued pride over honor. Yeah, I was about to ask that, like, this guy's position is this, and he's still getting all involved with this crap? Just tell people to get the hell out of there. But pride. Seeing the unfavorable situation, one of the mercenaries forced a smile and offered an apology. Sorry about that, but we didn't cause serious injuries, right? Can't you let it slide? Grovel. Huh? You didn't hear me? Press your forehead against the ground, lick our boots, and beg for forgiveness. It's so petty. It's so petty. Leonardo Pompadour is petty as dude. This dude's petty. Your men got their asses kicked, and you're going to force this guy to grovel by sheer numbers. What a petty prick. Leo said this while crossing his arms arrogantly. You gotta be kidding. Voices murmured amongst the onlookers, but none of the knights showed a slightest hint of amusement. Our kingdom's knights, within our territory, were shamefully cut down by filthy mercenaries, and even mocked. At this rate, the people will think the Royal Knights Order is nothing but a bunch of spineless weaklings. We're being gracious enough to let you off by a simple grovel. That's a bargain, wouldn't you say? Don't screw with us. Then you can die. Leo drew his sword. The mercenaries fell silent in shock. The sword in his hand, its radiance clearly different, it looked similar to one used by the Royal Knight's Order. But at a glance, it was obvious. The Knight's swords were mere replicas of this one. A masterpiece, a feigned blade, a type of holy sword. We wouldn't even be out of line to kill you where you stand. No one would bat an eye if we cut down 3 of you. There's no way the Blue Leopard Division would retaliate. If a mercenary group killed members of the Knight's Order, they'd never be able to remain in the town. But the reverse was different. It's true. Again, it's just, you're in our territory. It's really what it is. You're in our territory. Even if 3 low-rank mercenaries died in the back alley tavern, the Blue Leopard Division still had the King Dragon subjugation to carry out. From a manpower standpoint, they couldn't afford to divert forces to deal with the Royal Knight's Order. Sweat beaded across the forehead of the mercenaries. China understood why. Even though they were mercenaries, the Blue Leopard Division was strict about honor. These 3 were elite, probably high-ranking within the division. If they bowed their heads now, their own leader, the Blue Panther, might kill them later. So you dead if you do, dead if you don't? Rock in a hard place? So, you won't bow your head after all. A shame you waste your life. I'll inform the Blue Panther myself. Whoa, 3 of my boys got killed. I wouldn't just sit quietly, you know? What? No one had noticed the man had appeared. Even though he wore unmistakably flashy blue leopard print coat, he had somehow suddenly appeared right in front of Leo, shielding the mercenaries. Even China had no memory of such a conspicuous man entering the field of view. Boss! The moment the 3 mercenaries recognized him, relief visibly flooded their faces. China also knew who he was, the leader of the Blue Leopards Division. We have all the leaders right here. A random, tavern brawl happening, and suddenly every single leader of all these groups are showing up. The Blue Panther himself. No one knew his real name, only that he was a top officer of an organization even larger than the Royal Knight's Order, and that he even earned that position through his prowess in combat. He was smart and strong, and clearly trusted by his subordinates. So yeah, it seemed like they're relieved that he's there, even though there's a bunch of knights around. You, where the hell did you come from? One of the knights shouted bluffingly. Where from? I've been in the tavern the whole time, just sipping my drink in the corner of the tavern, enjoying the show. But it started heading in a boring direction, so I figured I'd step in. Personally, I think a fight should be decided by who's stronger, but ganging up on your pals after losing? That's just lame, isn't it? He shrugged dramatically with an exaggerated, carefree tone. Leo glared at him sharply. I mean, if you ask. A mutual scold on both sides is fair, right? But this isn't the kind of situation where the winner forces the loser to grovel. That young guy over there, playing the victim, should apologize first. Then we'll apologize properly, too, for bothering the tavern and all. Sound good, right? This guy seems level-headed. Compared to freaking Leo, this guy seems pretty level-headed. But again, from his position, if this goes any further, he's going to lose people, or he's going to make enemies of this entire kingdom's knights. So, I mean, it's the proper choice here. He grinned as he sought approval from those around him, but none of the onlookers agreed. Leonardo Pompadour versus the Blue Panther. To the bloodthirsty crowd, there was no more exciting matchup. What the hell? Well, I personally think there's no profit in killing each other here. I mean, we're not going to just let ourselves be killed, right? But if you cut me down, well, my old man's going to be pissed. He's real soft on family, so it turned out to an all-out war between the King Dragon Realm and the Wild Leopard Knights. That's not good. On the flip side, if we were to kill everyone here, we'd become one admin. Can't very well keep hunting the King of the King Dragons if that happened. That's no good, either. Again, logic here. Come on, logic here. He looked around his usual playful tone, but his words were surprisingly rational. It was true. There was no benefit from either side. So, how about we just see their swords, pretend it never happened, and go back to a normal day? Sound good? Come on now, just for me. What do you say, Sir Leo? Leo considered it for a moment, then finally spoke. It almost sounds like he know each other. There's almost a sense here like he knows each other. Like a little familiarity there. Fine. His words caused a stir from the knights. Why? This is a disgrace to the Knight's Order. But Leo ignored the outcry and ordered his subordinates to stand down. Appreciate it. Well then, we'll be on our way. The Blue Panther and the 3 mercenaries strolled off casually into the street. It was safe to say they'd won. Show's over. Get lost. Leo dispersed the crowd, and Shina and the others followed suit. Interesting little introduction to them. I'm glad to see at least they're seemingly including them into the story after including all these individuals at the very beginning of the story. I just hope it's more than just what seems like so far turf war kind of stuff here. Just little disagreements and fights. Oh, took you long enough. The streets were crowded. Back of the room, Chiki greeted Shina with one eye closed. Not a wink, she was admiring the shine on her well-maintained knives. She's finally got them done. The entire time Shiki's been cleaning her knives. They had only been gone for an hour or two, but that meant that Shiki had been polishing her knives the entire time. You've been very thorough. Yeah, with conspiracies swirling and tough enemies around, I've got to stay sharp. Especially that Blue Panther guy. He's bad news. Noticing the dull spot on one blade, Shiki raised an eyebrow and began sharpening it with a stone. Metal shavings scattered on the bed. Shina hoped that the innkeeper wouldn't get mad later. I see, but why is the Blue Panther such bad news? The Holy Knight's order were more vicious in terms of behavior. What? You of all people, the Death God's Knight, don't get it? Oh? You knew I was the Death God's Knight? Why wouldn't I? An assassin knows who's safe to pick fights with and who's not. That's true. I mean, they were wrestling in bed all the time. She's got to know who she's wrestling in the bed. It made sense that Al, who came from the countryside, wouldn't know. Before this so-called city girl assassin did not know about the infamous Death God Knight of the Central Continent, that would be odd. You knew about the rumors, so why team up with me? Oi, one question at a time. Shiki not smart enough to handle two. As she said this, Shiki began wiping down each knife with a bedsheet. Carefully, the innkeeper's gonna be pissed. She's just like shavings all over it, and then now she's just using the bed sheets to clean them and everything. Carefully sliding each of them into their sheaths one by one, Shina had reflected on whether she had actually asked two things, and realized Shiki must be referring to the question about the Blue Panther earlier. Let's start with the first question. They're mercenaries. Mercenaries only take jobs when money's involved. You get that, right? Yes? Shina had never been a mercenary herself, but she understood that much. In other words, mercenaries would do anything for coin. That mercenary company is taking part in the subjugation of the King Dragons, without any contract or request. But that blacksmith issued a request, didn't he? Chiki shook her head. That's not it. That's not what Shiki meant. The Wild Leopard's mercenary corps is huge, right? A big mercenary group like that doesn't move unless someone tells them to. You mean, unless they received a direct, named request, they won't act? Exactly. I see. Shina nodded in understanding. Come to think of it, that blacksmith hadn't exactly hired the Wild Leopards to slay the King Dragon. If they had, there was no way they would only send a small part of the Blue Leopard division. At the very least, they would have mobilized an entire division for the job. True. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, that makes sense. This seems like this is something specifically for the leader. Like, he came there. Alternatively, one might think the Blue Leopard division is focusing on intel gathering, except for a few combat veterans. But a mission like slaying the King Dragons isn't the kind of task that requires large-scale information warfare. For a small group like Shina's, maybe. But the Blue Leopard division had the numbers to comb the mountains directly, which would be far more efficient. So why weren't they doing that? Was the division leader, the Blue Panther, participating just to kill time? No, he didn't seem like someone that had that much free time. Then perhaps the rest of his forces had been assigned to a different job that was not related to the defeat of the King Dragons. As for what that other job might be, Shina couldn't guess. I think that's like a rabbit hole running down there. Again, I think the assumption here is that the Blue Panther himself is involved with this thing. I mean, they could be implying that the Blue Panthers is doing something else while it seems like they're busy with this as sort of like a distraction, but that would be something that would be specifically for, again, an attack on the King Dragon realm, which I doubt. If we don't know their goal, we can't predict their actions. Right. Stay sharp, Knight. There's plenty of other shady people around. Yeah, I know. Chiki nodded and began strapping the knives all over her body. In no time, all the knives had vanished into her clothes, and the knife girl returned to being simply a tan-skinned girl. By the way, where did Al go? Chiki's tummy is totally empty now. She looked around the room, searching for Al. At the same time, a deliciously savory aroma began to drift in. He's downstairs in the kitchen. Said he wanted to try some of the local food from his homeland. You didn't help him, Knight? I got kicked out of the kitchen just because I held a knife in a reverse grip. Good thing the inn didn't burn down. Chiki shrugged and walked out of the room. Shanna scratched her head and went to wake the sleeping girl. Chapter 4, Heroic Legends. There's a note here that says, this chapter has non-canon elements. Oh, so now we're finally getting to that. I've been looking for some of them and pointing out some stuff that feels off. But again, I can always kind of, I guess, excuse some of this stuff. As again, sort of what they were saying earlier, and the idea that it could be stuff that this is what actually happened at the time, but people believe this happened at the time. So, we'll see. There are hundreds of legends in this world, if we count the age of myths. The first to be named would be the first dragon god. According to myth, the first dragon god was a man who destroyed billions of worlds that once existed and left only the current one. Destroyed billions of worlds. Interesting. Again, the myths It's said that all living beings in the world were originally from those other worlds. He's the only person in history to have unified a world, but he exists only in myth. As befitting of a myth, his story is too dark to be told to children, so it's not often chosen for bedtime stories. Still, as the oldest known tale, it's widely known. There's plenty of versions sung with instruments, and it's usually the first story that novice bards learn. Next would be the demon god Laplace. The unified world became chaotic battleground, where billions of beings fought and clashed. In that world, Laplace gathered tribes and clans, and conquered the continent that would later be called the Demon Continent. Though it happened long ago, the Demon Continent is still the land of the demons, and has never allowed invasion by other races. Okay, yeah, I kind of got that hint. There's a note here that says, yeah, in this version, Kishirika doesn't exist, and Laplace is the one that led the demons of war. Yeah, that was my assumption. I was like, okay, are they talking about when Laplace came? We're talking about like this not existing, and so it's just, yeah, no Kishirika. He managed to unify the demons, who, just like the humans, are prone to conflict, considering that no ruler had ever unified the central continent. This was truly an astonishing feat. If we're talking about unifiers, then St. Milis should be included as well. Long ago, Milis was a cursed land covered in deep forests, sparse plains, and endless deserts. It was St. Milis who defeated the Demon King responsible for that curse and turned the desert into lush, fertile land. The Milis Church had been founded at that time and is now the most powerful religious organization in the world. That said, those three are of such massive scale that they don't really fit the image of a hero for many people. For children, a hero is someone who achieves glorious feats in battle, defeats wicked kings, or plays the leading role in exciting adventures. In that sense, the one who comes to mind immediately is the Golden Knight Hades. It's like, my brain was wanting to say Aldebaran. Wasn't it Golden Knight Aldebaran? There's a note, they probably confirm it. In this tale, Hades defeated Laplace and not Kishirika. Now he's Aldebaran, yeah, because like my brain went Aldebaran? Aldebaran? Hades? Who's Hades? He was the one who defeated the demon god Laplace, during the human-demon war 1,200 years ago. With his companions, he faced hardships, overcome trials, slew hundreds of demon kings, and in the end, defeated the demon god in a one-on-one duel. It's a heroic tale everyone knows. Defeating a demon god is not something that can easily be done. Anyone with God in their title possess overwhelming power beyond human comprehension. Even if they didn't start out as one, people often get called gods after defeating one. For example, the sword god Alpharion Alpharion was originally an unknown swordsman. During the human-demon war, despite being the human race, he sided with the demons and defeated the North god Kalman, who was hailed as the strongest swordsman at the time. For that, he was granted the title Sword God. I wonder if that part is actually true. I don't remember them mentioning anything like this or similar to this, but I would doubt it. I would just think that I don't think they ever really got into the origins of the Sword God. And I don't know necessarily that would be a way that would signify that. It would be simply that the style itself, they are of this caliber. And the origins of that style will be the first individual who was really powerful that had a particular type of style to them that would then pass that on to somebody else. And then somebody does come across that can match them or defeat them, they take that title. His style was passed down through generations after the war. The Sword God style is now the most popular swordsmanship school around. I kind of got that impression that compared to all the other ones, it seemed like the Sword God style was very prevalent. Though it did seem like we ran into a lot of North God style people. By the way, speaking of the North God Kalman, he's often talked about as a stepping stone to the Sword God, but he's actually quite the mighty warrior and deserves more recognition. Again, I don't remember any of that stuff, so... Some say he was a hero who defeated a giant rock monster known as the Rock King. Some say he defeated an immortal demon king. Yeah. Some say that he toppled a wicked founder of the St. Mills cult. Some say that he defeated Kajikut, the king of the king dragons. And yet, these stories are rarely told. That's because most of the individuals or monsters he supposedly defeated are still alive. I mean, yeah, you got the whole Kajikut one right there. Also, according to the Sword God's tale, the North God is described as a coward who ran away before they can even exchange a few blows. Damn! So the most credible theory is that he was a legendary liar. Oh my gosh. To make things worse, no one knows what became of the North God in the end. After his battle with the king of the king dragon, Kajikut, he just completely vanished. Of course, Kajikut is still alive and well. I wonder if that's why he believes that, in this story, I wonder if that's why he believes that Kajikut defeated his father. Because of all that, some even say the North God was a fictional character. Al knows something different. About 2 weeks passed, during which Chiki and the others went in and out of the mountains repeatedly, swapping places with the larger groups. Just as planned, despite entering the mountains several times, they never ran into any king dragons, and their exploration progressed. It seemed that some of the groups were beginning to get an idea of where the king of the king dragons was, and a few patterns in the trail started to emerge. Chiki can only tell that there's a pattern, but Shina seemed to understand more of the details and looked satisfied on her own. She told Chiki to report everything that happened, and now she's keeping secrets. As usual, Chiki led the way through the forest while grumbling in her head. Behind her were Al, Shina, and the mage girl who had been tagging along for about 10 days now. Okay, so the Clouds girl joined? The Clouds girl joined? Some weirdo with a name like Flowing Clouds. I'm guessing this chapter is Chiki's perspective. When Chiki glanced back, she saw Al, Flowing Clouds, and then Shina, in that order. The infamous Death God's Knight was guarding the rear, while Al protected the mage. It was a reasonable formation, though they hadn't been ambushed from behind so far. Come to think of it, Chiki had never teamed up with others like this before. She belonged to a mid-tier assassins guild called the New Moon Squad, which received jobs from the higher-tier assassin guilds and assigned them to its members. Though it was an assassin's guild, many of the members had thief skills, and because they were powerful fighters too, they were even referrals to join parties. Chiki was also someone with thief skills, but had never been referred to a party before. She was a type that preferred to do things that she could do alone, and avoid jobs that required more than one person. Even in her work as an assassin, group jobs often led to failure. She'd always avoid parties out of sheer prejudice, but now that she was doing it, she found it surprisingly fun. Chiki, with her sharp night vision and distant sight, could report anything that looked dangerous. If it turned out to be a wild beast or something like that, Shina would jump in and slash it down. Yeah, I mean, now that she's with a competent party, I think is probably what it is. She said it always led to failure. Every single time that she was grouped up with somebody else, it led to failure. So it's best to just do it alone. And just avoid getting with parties. Just do it yourself. You can handle it yourself. Now here, she's got a competent group. Again, Shina's coming down, and she's slashing things down. She's able to look at things, figure out what's at. Shina handles it. It's so much more easier. She usually took care of the fight all by herself, which suited Chiki just fine, since she wasn't good at coordinating combat anyways. It's interesting, though, I kind of missed it earlier, but it seems to be implying that the reason why she's on this job right now is because she's a thief class, or that she has thief skills. And again, the assumption here is that when we're talking about thief class or thief job or thief skills, it's not necessarily that you are a thief that's standing around the marketplace constantly stealing things. A thief can do that. But a thief is also somebody that's just very kind of crafty and able to break into things, able to see traps and whatnot. I mean, Geese was a thief. He was of that type. So when they were going and doing dungeons, he was the one looking for the traps, releasing the traps, picking locks, whatever. It doesn't necessarily have to be just pickpocketing and stealing stuff from a shop. The way that's kind of implying here is that the group that she's with, again, they pass down jobs from above in a lot of cases, the higher, guilds and whatnot. And specifically with this one, it's implying that she's doing this job as a thief, joining parties here. But it never really indicated that she was assigned to a group, and it's not like she's going to go in there as a thief by herself just to go take out the King of the King Dragons. I'm still thinking that she's here to kill somebody. It's probably Shina. That's probably why she knows who Shina is. And again, she's probably was originally sent there by them to take her out. The question is why she's taken so long in order to decide to do that. Who knows? Al, the leader, didn't seem to be doing much, but that made things mentally easier for her. Basically, she preferred to just handle everything herself. She didn't like others getting involved in her work, and she also hated poking around in unfamiliar tasks that others were handling. That's why she felt comfortable. This is her ideal setup. But aside from that, lately, she started feeling something odd about Shina. Her danger sense was just too sharp. Since Flowing Clouds joined them, she had been using detection magic to search for king dragons as they moved, but Shina always seemed to sense them even faster. She'd sensed a king dragon's presence and guided them away from the danger, quicker than the mage's magic could detect. To Chiki, that felt downright creepy. I was about to say, I thought it was implying there that she's like, that's my target and her danger senses are too much, and that's why she hasn't attacked yet. She keeps looking for an opportunity, but Shina keeps avoiding it, like, subconsciously. It's like one of those moments where this knife comes out and then suddenly Shina kind of just steps to the side and like, oh crap, she knew it was coming. Another note here is obviously this notes why Flowing Clouds with them is because I'm guessing they were bringing her along in order to use her detection magic, which again, seems like China doesn't really need it. Today again, they finished their exploration without incident and returned to their lodging. The four of them sat around the table, going over the day's findings. It looks like the King of the King Dragons is definitely to the east side of the mountains. That's what the other groups are saying, but who knows? Detect magic, re-explore strong, so means no mistake. Yes. Shiki rarely joined in these talks. She was there listening, but she wasn't good at exchanging opinions. That's because she never really knew what kind of information others wanted. I mean, that's a logical issue there. She had her own priorities for what was important, and those were often different from everyone else's. When she spoke up, people would say things like, "We're not talking about that right now," or "That doesn't matter," and brush her off. Chiki's the type who works better with praise. So once again, she was sulking silently to herself. She likes the head pats. She likes the... she's head pat tsundere. Chiki is head pat tsundere. There you go. So once again, she was sulking quietly to herself. If speaking up got her ignored, she wouldn't talk unless directly asked for her opinion. That was Shiki's way of thinking. Again, this is like a logical issue that a lot of people face, and I've had times where I've run into this where I'm like, I feel like this is more important, and then you bring it up and it gets shot down, and then it makes you not want to bring it up again. Like you see sort of a flow of something, and you keep bringing up that, hey, this is kind of broken. Shouldn't we address this? And they're like, that doesn't matter. It's not going to affect the end goal. Like, say there's a manufacturing process and there's a leak happening over here and you're trying to point out the leak over here, but they're saying no, at the end it gets enough powder in there, it gets enough solution in there, it gets enough liquid in there, it gets enough of this product in there that it meets the weight standard, but you're still going, but the room is being full of this waste and you have to clean up afterwards, and it's costing a lot of money to do that. It getting shot down so many times, even though you're bringing it up as important, eventually you go, I just don't want to bring it up anymore. I'll let them do whatever they're doing. They obviously don't think it's important. Because of that, the search for the King of the King Dragons was probably a little less efficient, but Shiki didn't care. Al was actually the one who wanted to defeat the King of the King Dragons, so she was only helping, not willing to take the initiative. Okay, this is making me kind of start to wonder, why is Shiki even here? I guess the assumption is that early on, my assumption early on was that she's there to assassinate somebody, and it could possibly be, again, either Al or Shina. Again, I'm more leaning to Shina. And that she just kind of went along with this because that's her target. There was another side of me that believed that, yes, it was because he saved her life, and she's like, well, I want to repay that. She said something to that effect of I need to repay you for saving my life, and he's like, don't worry about it. No, I got to repay you. It's a payment, and thus that's why she went along with it, but... to go fight a King of the King Dragons, that's a massive payment for saving life. But again, that's the weight of a life. The value of a life is huge. That should be the same for the knight. But, from Shiki's point of view, Shina was working surprisingly hard. Not to the point of overstepping, but she clearly had a mindset of leave all the fighting to me. And her actions showed she wanted to protect the others rather than fight alongside them. Yeah, again, she keeps rushing forward. And again, Shiki kind of joked about that before. And that was fine. Shiki didn't mind being protected. She could do whatever she wanted. But there was one thing that bothered her. Earlier, Shina had mentioned the tracks having a direction, but hadn't explained further. Something about that direction felt slightly off from what Shiki had in mind. It felt suspicious. To Shiki, Shina seemed shady. One of two things here is that, yes, Shina is trying to keep the group away from the King of the King Dragons. That seems to be that's probably 89% chance that that's probably what's going on here. There's still a 10% chance that it might be that she knows that, was it Barkle? Barkle might be going there, and she's trying to avoid Barkle. And then 1% is anything else. I'm thinking it's more of that first one. She wants to avoid the King of the King Dragons again because the most promising group is gone. There's a high chance that they're going to actually run into this thing. She doesn't want to. And that would line up with this. Why Shiki would have to be suspicious and eventually have to figure it out and bring it up. Let's try to sort this out. First, Shina had agreed to help Al under one condition. If things got dangerous, you should run away. This probably stemmed from her disgraceful title, the Death God's Knight, and she likely doesn't want to spread that stigma any further. After spending about 2 weeks with her, Shiki had come to think that her abilities were extremely high. The reason her previous comrades were wiped out was probably because they couldn't keep up with her exceptional skills. And that was my assumption there as well, until they started getting the idea that she has this ability to avoid death. Shiki didn't know much about the North God style, but her swordsmanship was sharp, and her combat ability was high, Even so, she likely couldn't defeat the King of the King Dragons. Chiki herself was a self-proclaimed top-tier assassin. She was confident in handling rough work. As for Al, she wasn't sure, but judging from his behavior and speech, he probably was a small-town tough guy at best. He's just an advanced swordsman. How long are we going to do the advanced sword? We're totally doing the same joke, by the way. We're totally doing the same exact joke. It's so funny now reading this and going, holy crap, Refugin literally reused the same joke twice in a row. Like, all of the whole thing with Rudius thinking that he was some, like, weak swordsman. Literally, he did the joke back here, and he redid it there. I kind of wonder, for everybody that was reading those volumes, and where Rudius kept talking about how Sander was, like, this weak dude, everyone's going, oh my god, it's just like back there with Chiki. Flowing Clouds was harder to read by Chiki standards. She seemed like an ordinary mage, but apparently the more a mage discards their humanity, the stronger they become. Huh? So perhaps she was actually weak. With this lineup, defeating the King of the King Dragons seemed absolutely impossible. I wonder what it means right there, discarding humanity. I wonder if this is from the mindset of, like, summoning magic and using magic in ways that are inhumane. Like the idea of, shoot, a good example, using magic to, again, turn all the bodies into undead. That makes you really incredibly powerful. You're able to create an army of soldiers, essentially. That makes you less human. Let's analyze their combat strengths. First, Chiki herself wouldn't be of use in a fight against the King of King Dragons. Knives couldn't do much damage, even to a regular King Dragon. And lacking physical strength, she probably couldn't pierce its outer hide in the first place. Next, Shaina. She also wasn't likely to be useful in terms of attack power. Her sword style wasn't meant for fighting massive creatures. It was intended for battling humans or mid-sized beasts that lived on the plains. Then there was Flowing Clouds. As a mage, she was the most promising in terms of combat power. But if she had to focus on offense, at this point, the only one who might stand a chance was Flowing Clouds. Even if you added Al into the equation, it probably wouldn't make much difference. I'm surprised up until this point, they still haven't seen him do anything. Again, they're implying that Shaina's handling everything, and that would imply that, yes, Al's not really doing much. Again, she said it earlier in this chapter. This guy isn't doing much. He's just kind of coming with us. But it did also say in the previous chapter that he literally, like, whoosh, knocked this thing's head off. Like, he literally cut the damn thing's head off, and it was still standing upright. Like, that is again, with this massive blade, that's a clean cut. That is an extremely clean cut. Like, it didn't snag or anything. It did not snag and knock the thing over. She didn't see it. Again, she wouldn't note, like, whoa, that shit's still standing. That's crazy good. Now, back to the main topic. The point was that Shaina... I forgot about that. Yeah, I forgot we were talking about that. Shaina seems shady. She should be able to make that kind of analysis too. Yet, she chose to go searching for the King Dragon. The contradiction was that Chiki found it suspicious. Again, my assumption is that she's keeping them from the King of King Dragons. She was helping because it was a favor to the one that saved her life. But if things started to look too murky, she might need to consider leaving the group and returning to her original job. Just as Chiki was beginning to think this, the King of the King Dragons has been found! The voice rang out from outside. Finally! Holy crap, dude. It took him long enough. We're already 5 chapters in and we still haven't freaking found this thing. Chapter 5, The Boy Who Was Cast Aside, Part 1. Okay. It happened in the dark area. Chiki hated the ocean. Part of it was that she was born in a land full of sandy plains. But more than that, she couldn't bring herself to like sea creatures. Take octopuses, for example. An octopus was currently wrapped around her body. Are we doing that, eh? Are we doing that? I wonder if there's some fan art out there of this whole scene. It was squeezing her with vice-like strength, likely intending to crush her bones and eat her. Shivering from overwhelming disgust that nearly made her faint, she flailed, gasping and screaming for help. A man from the Assassin's Guild reception happened to pass by. He was a lolicon. He was a lolicon who always ogled Chiki's body whenever she came to get work, let his hands wander towards her chest or butt, and even tried to pretend to accidentally hug her. How do you accidentally hug somebody? He was just as troublesome and unpleasant as the octopus, but at least he could understand words, which made him the lesser evil. Chiki decided to ask him for help, and it was useless. He looked at the immobilized Chiki, tangled in an octopus limbs, with bloodshot eyes, and ignored her pleas, lunging on top of her instead. My gosh, dude. Ah, sorry, Mom and Dad, whose faces I don't even know. Tonight, Chiki will lose her chastity. Just as Chiki braced herself for it, the grip on her loosened. A fight had broken out between the octopus and a man. It was an indescribable life or death struggle, so intense that Chiki forgot to run and simply stared. In all of her life, she had never seen such a fierce battle. The one who had won was Al. So she knows him. Did they travel together, maybe? Maybe they traveled together to the King Dragon Realm? He drew his great sword in a flash and cleaved the King Dragon clean in two. What? This is a dream. This has got to be a dream. What is this dream? Then he scooped Chiki into his arms and brought his lips to hers. It is a dream. Oh, she's totally crushing out for him. She's crushing for him bad. Okay, this answers why she's hanging out with the group. She's crushing for him bad. All those head pats. All those head pats. She's turning into Roxy. She's turning into Roxy. She was traveling over the King Dragon Realm and she nearly dies, and Rudius shows up and saves her life, brings her in there, feeds her and everything. She gets all doki doki while they're sitting in the tavern together. They start going around the dungeon looking for the King Dragon together. And then Chiki woke up. With sleepy eyes, she looked around. The room was dimly lit. Dawn must be near. She could hear birds chirping outside. The person sleeping in the next bed was Flowing Clouds. She was a messy sleeper. The blanket was kicked off. Her belly was exposed, and her pillow was soaked with drool. Suddenly, Chiki felt something strange around her stomach and looked down. It wasn't an octopus. It was a woman clinging to her. Shina, damn, Shina is like in love with Chiki, dude. Shina wants Chiki bad. Strange, she could be sleeping in the other bed. There was only 2 beds in the room, so Shina and Flowing Clouds were sharing one. Why was she in Chiki's bed? Was this a night visit? Chiki had suspected this might happen, since the woman was prone to perverted behavior. Looks like she was right, but if that were the case, she was sleeping far too peacefully. Her face twisted like she was having a nightmare, muttering in her sleep, but definitely sound asleep. Sleep helps you grow, though this woman had grown way too much. Maybe Chiki could get taller if she slept better too. Oh, the mindset of a lowly character. Looking closely, Shina had bruises on her forehead and tear stains at the corners of her eyes. Chiki realized she must have been kicked by the wildly sleeping Flowing Clouds. Poor thing. So that's why she's in the bed. She got kicked out of the other one. Chiki thought it was amazing that she endured for nearly 2 weeks. She got up from the bed, pulled a blanket over Shina, and wandered outside on wobbling legs. What? Okay. Still half asleep, she went to the toilet. She knew that when you dreamed of water, it's a sign that you might wet yourself. Then she returned to the room, crawling into the only empty bed, and went back to sleep. Suddenly, she felt someone's gaze and slowly opened her eyes. Right in front of her was a familiar face of a man that she'd come to know over the past 2 weeks. According to her memory, his name was Al. He saved her life. He was staring at Chiki with a mix of confusion, shock, and anxiety on his face. Then Chiki realized, a night visit, huh? Fairly manly of you, Al. But wouldn't one of the women sleeping next to me be a better match? Even if you say that, you're the only one sleeping next to me, Chiki. She got the wrong room. She got the wrong room. Despite just waking up, Al was surprisingly calm and composed. Normally, if a beautiful girl was sleeping beside you, your curiosity would get the better of you, and you'd play some kind of prank. And sometimes it wouldn't just stop at just a prank. Chiki was even a little moved by his self-restraint. He was nothing like the scumbag in her dream. If possible, she wanted to marry a gentleman like this in the future. But Chiki's body wasn't that of a grown woman yet, so it was just a future wish. She'd always thought so. But Al really was a gentleman. An ideal one. Still, even if it wasn't a night visit, isn't it just rude to sneak into a maiden's bed and do nothing? I didn't know that. While we're at it, could you tell me how a man should act when a maiden sneaks into his bed? Again, that's what my assumption was. Because it said that she snuck into an empty bed. I'm like, wait, wasn't Shina there? Wait, what? Wait, what? I thought there was only 2 beds, and Shina was in one and Flowing Clouds in the other one. For starters, hold her tight. What? He hugged her tight. What is this chapter? He hugged her tight. Her cheeks was pressed against his firm chest, and Chiki's lips curved into a smile. Oh my gosh, this girl's crush is so bad. Now then, what should I have him do next? Chiki thought. She thought calmly, wow. Then finally, her drowsy brain started working again. Chiki clearly remembered where she was and what the situation was. Good morning, Al. Good morning, Chiki. He was still holding her. Normally this would be the time to scream, Chiki thought. She let out a silk-tearing shriek and brand him a lecherous fiend, or so she considered. But was that really the right move? Setting her own feelings aside, she was the one who had crawled into the bed with him. He was the one being inconvenienced, and honestly, Chiki was benefiting from it. Plus, she had never even heard the sound of silk tearing before. Now that she thought about it, a prostitute she once knew said something like this. If you wake up in the morning and find a man sleeping beside you, absolutely do not let him get cocky. Men are creatures who, after sleeping with you once, immediately think that they own you. Hey, Al, don't get full of yourself. Is it bad if I do? When Chiki said that, Al's face clouded over. Did she upset him? That same prostitute had said this. This girl's got all... This reminds me of who was it? It's sort of like a Roxy situation here. Again, we're playing a lot of parallels for Roxy and this girl. It's like the whole situation with Roxy and Ellen Lace is like getting any sort of recommendations from her. Like, oh, Ellen Lace said to do this. Okay, hold on. That same prostitute also said this. Even if a guy is getting cocky, don't tell him not to. Failed that one. Men with too much pride will snap and might start choking you. Holy shit. Yeah, if she's a prostitute, she's probably dealing with people like that. Chiki panicked internally. She was being held tight right now and couldn't move. This was bad. She was going to get strangled. What do you think is necessary to defeat the King of the King Dragons? Contrary to her sleepy imagination, Al asked the question in a serious tone. Judging he wasn't angry after all, Chiki looked up as a nearby face. First, what's absolutely essential is offensive power. Gravity magic. A shell-like outer skin. Bones and flesh, clearly heavier and tougher than those of human. You'll need swordsmanship and magic strong enough to cut through it all. It's surprising how much she knows about this. I mean, she's supposed to be the scout for the group. And again, in her field, she's going to be needing to have information about everything that she does. And so she probably, being an assassin, probably looked into anything that she could find about the King of the King Dragons. So, a twisted, unnatural smile spread across Al's face. Something no normal human could make. He's like, well, I got all that stuff. Oh, good. And the next thing you need is defense, durability, and stamina. Those are even more important than offensive power. The sheer menace in that smile made Chiki shudder. Generally speaking, most people think that since dragon attacks are easy to dodge, the attacks of the King of the King Dragon can be handled with similar maneuvers. That's not true. The King of the King Dragons is said to be the strongest in terms of individual combat power, precisely because he's never been defeated. Among all dragons, he's the only one of his species who took interest in human martial arts. He honed his body, his techniques, and his skills, and developed his own tactics and strategies. That level of training spans several thousands of years, so even if a human spent their entire life training, it would still only amount to dabbling in comparison. That king is truly a master of combat. It's nearly impossible to dodge all of his attacks. Okay, yeah, he's not coming in here acting stupid. He's not coming in here acting stupid. This checks. Again, dragons are typically in most lores, and seemingly what we get from, obviously, this entire book and what we got from Old Dragon's Tale is that the dragons of the Mushoku Tensei world, at least the older ones, the very older ones, are extremely wise. With a lot of the, wandering drakes or stragglers that they had in the mainline series, it really felt like these are just dumb beasts that as long as you blast them and you trick them, you can take them down. They were very weak when they were alone and stragglers, and they couldn't get themselves back up in flight to get back up to where they were at. With these two books, these are specifically focusing in on a lot of older dragons that are wise, that they understand language and all this kind of stuff. These are what you typically get from legendary dragon tales of these dragons that are super old. They have their own language. They can speak and whatnot. They look at humans as being lowly beings, and they could just knock them out with a single breath. What Al's talking about here is a dragon that has been around for a long time, has defeated many humans, and specifically took interest in human martial arts, honed his body, his techniques, and his skills. It's very interesting there. It's going to come down to this idea where this King Dragons is not going to be a simple, dumb monster that all you have to do is piss it off and lure it into a trap, and you set off the trap and the stuff comes down on top of it. It's going to be smart. It's going to be going, okay, he's running that direction for a reason. I'm going to stop. Or I'm going to use a technique to stop him. That kind of stuff. It's just not going to be going on basic instincts. It's going to come down to sheer strength and tactics. Techniques this thing has never seen before. But still, he's just a dragon, right? If you can say just a dragon about a species that rolls over every mountain in Central Continent, I've tipped my hat at you, cheeky. Oh, gosh. But understand, there's just as much of a gap between a regular dragon and a king of dragons as there is between a newborn baby and a hardened mercenary. Otherwise, there's no way heroes like Lan Zhao or the North God Kalman would have been defeated. Didn't the North God defeat the king of dragons and then disappear? She was told that story as a child. Al kept that eerie smile as he chuckled bitterly. Is that so? I heard he was killed by the king of dragons, and that was the end of him. But I suppose, since it's the final chapter of Legend of the North God, there are bound to be multiple versions. I'm guessing what's implying there is that typically, based on what kind of story you're telling, you're going to have the conclusion be different. So if it's going to be a tale for children, they want to have a happy ending. So if it's going to be for children, he defeats the big bad, and then he walks off into the sunset. That's a heroic, awesome conclusion. Whereas it's for somebody else, geared towards a different group, it might be a more bitter story. The idea that he gets defeated by the dragon, that's the end of his legendary tales. As far as Shiki knew, she had never heard of a version where the North God lost and died. But maybe it really was a regional difference. Shiki wasn't exactly well versed in folklore or mythology. And according to China, Al's hometown was unbelievably rural. Now then, offensive power and high defensive skill. A true hero has both. Let's say Lan Zhao and Kalman lost. Both of them were heroes. Their skill level nearly matched the king of the dragons. So then, why do you think they all lost? Shiki thought for just 2 seconds before answering. Maybe they underestimated him because he was a dragon? Hero Lan Zhao supposedly recognized the king of dragons' bravery and strength during a chaotic battle and challenged him to a duel. Kalman, upon hearing that story, went in prepared to die. So, that's not quite right. Shiki shivered. Before she realized it, she was afraid of Al's expression. She didn't understand why his face was so terrifying. What was this? Shiki had never seen a human make a face like that before. It wasn't the kind of lust that a guild receptionist guy directed at her. It was something more instinctive. Was there something more primal than desire? Is this a thirst for the battle that she's just getting creeped out by him for? Like, he's just getting excited about this whole thing, and she's like, what the hell's wrong with this guy? What defeated them was their hearts. Their hearts? You could also call it confidence. Without the firm belief that you'll win no matter what, your sword slows down. Your body relaxes. Even fights you could win become unwinnable. In a battle of equals, hesitation dulls your edge, and you miss your chance to win. Shiki had heard similar stories, though in her experience, it was more like thoughts like, I might lose, I might die, I might fail, make people hesitant, so some assassins use magic or drugs to wipe those feelings away. Interesting. I'm trying to recall magic implied stuff like this. I can assume, yeah, drugs makes sense. I mean, there's plenty of drugs that we have, in our current time that do similar stuff as this. You want something that's not as far as to make you lose your edge, your ability, to something that's too intoxicating, just something to just calm the nerves. Many heroes possess incredibly strong hearts. Lan Zhao and Kalman surely did too. But they still lost. Right up to the moment of their one-on-one duels, they were probably constructing the fight in their minds. If he attacks like this, I'll respond like that. If he does this, I'll do that. If he moves away, I'll block like so. But in doing that, their firm belief in victory wavered. The opponent was a massive dragon with overwhelming magic power, and on top of that, mastery of martial arts and tactics. There's no such thing as a guaranteed way to win. The more they thought, the more they realized that. The deeper they fell, the more their confidence shook, and without an answer, they stepped onto the battlefield and lost. So what do you have different there, Al? It's starting to make me wonder what's different here, man. So, it's a matter of willpower? Combat is always fluid. Two people meet for the first time. Two people of equal skill. If they fought 100 times, they'd win 50 each. But in the very first fight, one of them dies. Will it be you, or will it be your enemy? What determines that is things like determination, nerve, and guts. You can call it whatever you like. In the end, I think it comes down to the heart. It's just like, literally don't overthink. It almost feels like the reaction here is just don't overthink it. Don't sit here and think of a bunch of different terms, because in the end it comes down to this idea of like, you can't overcome these things. This is a dragon that knows, fighting techniques and gravity magic and crap. You need to come in there with just pure heart. It sounds foolish. It honestly, I mean, I don't doubt if Chiki comes around and goes, this guy's crazy. Again, she's looking at him and thinking he's crazy. This is the guy that this is what he wants to do. It's all about heart. Get in there, fight it kind of thing. Chiki finally put a name to the trembling feeling inside of her. This is probably a gift from her ancestors. That's why I'm going to stay cocky, overconfident, and keep believing that it's only natural that I'll win until I defeat the King of the King Dragons. That way, my sword won't dull. So, I'm sorry, Chiki, but I'll be riding high a little while longer. At that moment, Al's twisted grin finally softened, but Chiki's trembling didn't stop. That feeling, it was a warning from her very cells. A frog under the gaze of a snake, a bird pinned down by a cat, a woman standing before a dragon. Now those memories had long faded into the past. That old feeling had been resurrected. Anyone who can defeat a dragon can, without exception, also become a natural enemy of mankind. Al was dangerous. Chiki's instincts were screaming that. Alright, calm down, girl. Calm down, girl. Oh, man. I mean, I can understand with the son. I mean, we get it with his son, but let's calm down there a little bit. Let's calm down there a little bit. Later that day, around noon, they were, just like always, at the King Dragon Mountains. The sky had been overcast since they left town, the clouds heavy with imminent rain. Chiki had never been in religions that used weather to predict the future, but somehow she had a bad feeling. It's a bad omen. She couldn't stop thinking about the conversation with Al that morning. After that talk, the ominous vibe around Al had vanished. He went back to his usual, carefree, always smiling self. China and flowing clouds didn't seem to notice anything, but to Chiki, his attitude now felt blatantly fake. This kind of does sort of put a lot of a picture of a different type of Al. I mean, we got a sense that there is a serious side of Al, don't get me wrong, from the mainline series, but this definitely gives a sense of, like, once that was brought up, he got extremely serious and let her know exactly what's going through his mind. Like, this is my internal, you can take me serious kind of thing. Like, I'm not effing around here. I am taking this serious. But now that we're going back over here, he's acting like his goofy self. This is probably the side of him that either trying to hide what he's actually thinking about, or just this is his side that's just taking it easy. Taking it easy when he can. You could do both things. You could be serious and also goofy at the same time. Even if Al wasn't some overconfident, clueless country bumpkin, the fact remained that he had saved her life. That wasn't going to change, and Chiki didn't intend to stop helping him take on the King of the King Dragons. Still, something felt off in her chest. She didn't know whether it was because the weather, because of Al's twisted true self, because her breakfast had disgusting green peppers in it. This is totally Roxy. This is totally Roxy. Oh, this is totally Roxy. Or because her shoelaces weren't tied symmetrical when they left the inn. But it didn't really matter. What mattered was the fact that right now, she had a bad feeling. This is seriously bad. Her master, the one who taught her how to be an assassin, had passed down 4 key rules beyond just technique. 4 rules for living a long life while staying active as a professional assassin. First, keep it broad and shallow. Every organization has darkness. Never get too involved. I can see that. Second, don't get picky about clients. Making specific enemies shortens your life. Smile even for the worst clients. And smile while stabbing your favorite ones to death. Loyalty to the job is a virtue. Okay. Third, get along with your peers. Always smile. Keep lots of connections. That way, you might get offered better jobs. Keep professional in killing people. When you betray someone, erase the evidence cleanly and pin it on someone else. 100%. 100%. Fourth, value your instincts. When you feel danger, trust that feeling. So this is a sign to get the f*** out. No matter how tasty the bait in front of you looks like, run immediately. Then afterwards, make sure you check what kind of trap was waiting for you at the place you would have gone. Keep those in mind, especially the first and fourth rules. This time, it's number 4. This time it's number 4. So, sometime before it was keep it broad and shallow. Every organization has darkness. Never get too involved. She got too involved with somebody? Oh, it's just saying those 2 are the most important, and it's the 4th one. She can feel herself being pulled towards something dangerous. Her body, loyal to the training, kept trying to shift her steps to the side. Pointless little time-wasting detours. But every time, China or flowing clouds would call her out, and she'd change course. Yeah, because you got Shina and she's feeling like danger senses going off and flowing clouds using detect magic. She felt like a prisoner being led towards the gallows. Well, maybe it wasn't quite that desperate. Still, according to the rules, it was about time she walked away from this whole situation. But Chiki was bad at talking. Talking about that earlier in her chapters right here was the idea that she just like, she doesn't like voicing her opinions and whatnot because it's always like shot down or something like that. Like she has a problem with communicating to people. And right here, she wants to get the hell out of here, but she can't. She didn't think that she could explain herself in a way they'd accept. I'm surprised she just hasn't just like snuck out in the middle of the night at some point. Again, technically, she started feeling a lot of this unease this morning. It was too much trouble to even try. It would probably turn into an argument, and they'd part ways on bad terms. Does that matter? That would go against rule number 3, okay? They weren't fellow assassins. That was my thought process. That's for fellow assassins. But they were her first real companions. Aww. She didn't want to leave any bitter feelings between them. Aww, Chiki likes them. Maybe it'd be better just kill them all. That's better. She didn't want to bitter feelings when I can kill them. I mean, it goes the other rule. Don't leave loose ends. She'd lost count how many times she considered it to stay alone. It's close. A chill ran up her spine. The moment Chiki gripped the knife hidden in her cloak, Shina, who had somehow gotten right next to her without her noticing, spoke up. Yeah, it's close. Whatever it was, Chiki didn't know, but she agreed, carefully not to let her inner panic show. She about to kill him? Jeez. Every time she thought about killing them, this female knight would end up right beside her. Chiki might be a self-proclaimed top-class assassin, but she had no confidence that she could win against this knight, even if she attacked Shina as she slept. Huh. Again, this goes to what I was saying before. I figured that Shina was always picking up on anything that Chiki would do. That was why Chiki hadn't killed her yet, as she probably picks up on that danger sense. And here it's confirming it. That yes, she senses something with Chiki, and then she's stepping in. There's a side of me that almost believes that Shina is like, okay, well, I feel something, so I need to step in, but she doesn't know it's Chiki. Or there's a side of it where Shina knows it's Chiki, she's just trying to keep Chiki from doing it. Like, there's a side of it, like, almost like she's trying to make Chiki like them. And it could be, like, the whole thing of, like, you know, again, messing with her in the bed and stuff like that. It gives a little bit of to Shina's character, kind of like that, you know? She knows that Chiki's bad and that she's conflicted about killing them or whatever, and she's trying to make her like him. This woman had an insanely fast reaction to killing intent directed towards her, whether through special training, natural talent, or through some kind of precognition. It was almost supernatural. It is said that a warrior trained to the extreme can sense the moment their opponent attacks. But for Shina to be called such a warrior, she's just too young. There's something really off about this woman. Chiki had heard some things about how she came to be called the Death God's Knight. That was just hearsay and incomplete rumors. One story even claimed that she survived a situation where the only way to escape was to kill your allies. Yeah. Actually, according to what Chiki had heard, even killing your allies wouldn't have let you escape. In any case, the rumors painted Shina Mariane as a deranged knight who, once on the battlefield, slaughtered enemies and allies alike. A mad knight who would betray and kill her comrades if it meant surviving. A mad knight who killed her enemies too. Odd way for a traitor to act. Just kill everybody. A mad knight constantly pursued by the holy knights. Yeah, it makes you kind of wonder why she's not kill on sight. Because, I mean, even Barkle, walked away from it, in a sense. Chiki had only recently gathered these rumors, but she found them hard to believe. There couldn't be someone like that. Maybe the part about the holy knights chasing her was true. But in that case, the rest of the rumors were probably slander spread by the holy knights' order. If not that, then maybe 1 or 2 incidents had just been blown out of proportion. The more time Chiki spent around the infamous Shina, the less she could believe it. I mean, you're getting a sense that she's at least able to avoid dangers. Like, she has that really creepy sense about herself. She wasn't that kind of person. A rumor was just a rumor. Yeah, I guess the part about her killing people, maybe. This was just a smear campaign by the Holy Knight's order. Maybe she'd been in a desperate situation, and her comrades had died. But that would have been because she had the strength to survive, and they didn't. Yeah, true. At least she's seen through this whole crap. She's seeing at the heart of all this. There's all these crazy rumors, which, in a sense, they're, true in a way that something like this had happened. It's just, it wasn't her, and based on what I'm seeing here, she's surviving. It makes sense. Yeah, even so, Chiki had always figured there was something more going on, but had thought of it as something that didn't really concern her. That was fine, until this morning. But now, everything has flipped. Ever since Chiki decided to back out of this mess, her thoughts had turned 180 degrees. she's dangerous. Because she's picking up on this killing intent, probably. There's no doubt in Shiki's mind, Shina is trying to push her into a deadly situation. Oh, Shina's trying to get them to the King Dragons? Every time she tried to act, something interrupts her. Once or twice could be coincidence. At the same time, for some reason, like standing up to go to the bathroom, only for someone else to rise at the same moment. That kind of thing could happen 2 times in a row, no big deal. But when it happened like this, it's no coincidence. She can feel it. Shina is deliberately cutting off her options. For example, if Shiki tried to say something like, I'm feeling uneasy, can we head back? Or, the deadline for my job is coming up, mind if I pull out for a bit? What would Shina do? Shiki could say for sure. Shina would drown out her logic and kill her with words. And Shiki knew that she couldn't win in a verbal fight. She was terrible with words. The word death god rises to her mind again. That's how this woman, this night, has driven those who traveled with her to their deaths. That sucks. This is literally the curse that Shina is dealing with all the time, that everybody around her is ending up dead. She signed up for this saying, run away if something happens. Leave me behind. And right here, because, again, I think that Shina's picking up something in Shiki, right here, Shiki thinks that she's deliberately doing this to get her killed. This is this curse of the death god. This is what everybody calls her this for. Shiki could tell. This one's got a unique kind of intuition. She's heading towards danger. It doesn't realize how high her own survival ability is. She'll bring you to a place where it's possible to escape, even if it becomes dangerous. If you're her. Yeah. But that's only because she's Shina, and she can get out of it. People like Shiki, ordinary people, need to flee far earlier or they'll die. And yet this woman keeps saying, it's still fine, and drags others closer to danger. The people around her, knowing how sharp her danger sense is, feel safe and follow her right into the fire. By the time Shina decides it's actually dangerous, it's already too late. No one but her can make it out. Again, this is sad because this is exactly what Shina is fearing. And again, I still think that Shina is avoiding this stuff. I just think that Shiki doesn't really fully see it. I don't know. It's weird because, again, Shina can feel and sense danger, and she's trying to get them close, but she knows that they can't beat him either. She's of the same mindset as Shiki. So it does kind of make you wonder, like, which of the two of them is getting too close or avoiding the situation. I really feel like they're both trying to avoid the situation. They just don't know they're both trying to avoid the situation, is where I'm getting at. It's probably unconscious, unintentional, but the sense of reassurance Shina gives off is overwhelming. Anyone but Shiki would be drowning in it by now. That's exactly why she's dangerous. Al, too, just like Shina, was dangerous in his own way. Shiki hated the feeling of relying on someone else. It's like Shiki's the only one that's like, I don't want to be in this situation. Again, Shiki being the thief class in this whole situation, it's like a geese situation. Like, I'm helping them scout, but if push comes to shove, I'm getting the hell out of here. I can't survive. Shiki stopped walking and crouched to retie her shoelaces. Another stalling tactic. She wanted to run, but she couldn't come up with a good plan. The others also stopped walking and crouched. What are they doing? Shiki wondered, and then remembered that she was scouting for this team. As she surfaced from the depths of her thoughts, her hearing returned. She could hear the sounds of clashing swords. Just ahead, down 3-meter drop, behind some bushes, 2 groups were locked in a fight to the death. It's the knights and the leopards, isn't it? It was a perfect spot to watch from. Apparently, without realizing it, she heard the sounds of battle and instinctively circled around to the vantage point. Part of her wanted to praise herself for reacting unconsciously. Part of her wanted to scold herself for not paying attention to her surroundings. Yep. The Royal Knights and the Blue Leopard divisions. I wondered if this is a continuation from the other day. A continuation? Oh, from the bar, the inn, or whatever. Okay. I was like, did we miss a fight that happened out here before? Shina, who had come up beside her, muttered that. She sounded kind of amused, even though she previously said that grown men brawling like this was pathetic. She liked fights. She'd often been seen smirking at barroom scuffles in the inn district. Next to her were Al and Flowing Clouds. Al looked intrigued. Flowing Clouds' expression was unreadable. Her face was always blank. It was impossible to tell what she was thinking. Is she just, like, broken, or is this, like, her personality, I wonder? She looked like someone who wasn't thinking at all, but her statements were always accurate. Maybe that dopey face of hers was actually her thinking face. It's my face. It is my face. Shiki followed her lead and observed the fight below. It looked like it was after a clash with a king dragon. There was a wide open area, probably where the group of mages had been wiped out. Two groups were fighting violently in a narrow space. It was clearly two distinct sides because their outfits were so unique. One side was made up of heavily armored knights, clad head to toe in gray steel, shields in their left hands, swords in their right, heavy infantry. The other wore blue, leopard print coats and carried curved, single-edged swords, light infantry. There was no exceptions. Everyone in the clearing belonged to one of those two types. Well, except for the two fighting the center of the clearing. But even they weren't entirely out of place. One wore a special, lion-shaped helmet. The other held a slightly shorter sword than the mercenaries around him, gripped in a reverse stance. The amazing lion, Leonardo Pompadour, and the Blue Panther. Their stances were completely different, too. The lion stood tall and imposing, sword raised high. The Blue Panther was hunched, almost like clutching his stomach, gripping his sword like he was clinging to it. At first glance, it looked like the lion was overwhelming the Blue Panther. But the truth was the opposite. The lion's armor was stained with blood in multiple places. Through the gaps of his helmet, his face was twisted in pain. The Blue Panther, on the other hand, had a cut on his cheek, but no serious injuries, and was grinning fearlessly. Yeah, again, they imply this dude's really, really strong. Looking closely, several royal knights lay scattered on the field. Had the Blue Panther done that all by himself? If so, even he must be nearing his limit. She had heard plenty of rumors about this amazing lion Leonardo, a man who could make the impossible possible, an undefeated royal knight, a key figure in the King Dragon realm's rise. He was famous to the public, but in the underworld, his reputation wasn't as good. He only picks fight when he thinks he can win. He runs away when the odds are bad. He's excellent at reading situations, but the only reason that he hadn't failed yet was because he played it safe and never made any notable mistakes so far. Deep down, he was just an overly cautious coward. The fact that he hadn't fled and was still fighting meant that the situation was even, or his escape route had been cut off. I mean, if somebody planned this, I can see the battlefield being kind of a trap. Looking at the overall battlefield, more royal knights were down than those in the Blue Leopard division, but the royal knights had several times their numbers, so the fight was probably even. For a continuation of a quarrel, things seemed way too intense. What could have happened? Al asked curiously. She glanced sideways at Flowing Cloud's face. In her mind, she recalled the wiping out of the mage group. If one of the factions had intentionally wiped them out, then maybe this bloodbath was also part of their scheme. It's the Holy Knight's order, Shanna said flatly. This is exactly the kind of thing Barkle would do. Take out the most dangerous group first, then pin the ones that he can crush any time against each other at the right moment. Any minute now, the Holy Knight's order is going to show up and sweep away both sides after they've exhausted themselves. Damn, she knows him through and through. Didn't imply that's what he did last time. Last time he just kind of got them to deny the reinforcements and then just went this direction instead. Shanna spoke with a bitter, hateful tone. Her eyes were filled with disgust. Shiki found herself asking, do you have any proof? None. But if it's Barkle, he'd totally do it. Okay, this kind of confirms for me that she knows what he did. Again, I wasn't really sure if the story that she told was what she found out later on, what Barkle did, and thus knows the truth based on what she's seen as well, and she told that to Al, or if it was another party telling the story and she wasn't aware of what actually happened. The man always thinks about eliminating the competition first in order to win. His motto is, a lion gives his all when hunting a rabbit, but what he really means by giving his all is undermining every other rival, so that he alone leisurely chases after the rabbit. Al gave Shanna a troubled look. Why was he making that face? He even touched his fingers to his lips. Was that some kind of gesture to say, it's wrong to speak ill of others? But Shanna didn't see it, and her rant didn't stop. Barkle is bold. Sure, if by that you mean that he's not afraid of risks when he fails. If he wants to get promoted, he doesn't just go for achievements. He'll kill his superiors and peers if that's faster. He'll trap his own allies to make the mission look harder than it really is. He's great at covering his tracks and making things add up, so no one ever finds out. He's also amazing at sucking up to others and maneuvering behind the scenes, so even if he gets caught, he can usually sweep it under the rug. That man is the epitome of scum. The Holy Knight's order is no different. A bunch of garbage gathered by garbage. Looks nice on the outside, but inside, it's pure sludge. Damn, Shanna. Like an entire page of her thoughts. No, tell us how you really feel. No, it's okay. You could tell us what you really feel. Shanna kept going, running her mouth. She hadn't noticed yet, but Shiki, Al, and Flowing Clouds had already turned around, fully aware of who was behind them. Well, you sure got good at bad-mouthing people while I wasn't looking, didn't you, Shanna? A man with a face of a bandit stood there, veins bulging in anger. Behind him were rows of burly knights clad in white exorcist armor. So everything she legit just said is happening right now. Of course, if what Shina said was true, the Holy Knights Order had been watching the battle from somewhere, and there was only so many safe places with a good view. They must have been nearby from the start. The moment Shina heard Barkle's voice, she spun around and immediately drew her sword. How did she... I mean, she must have known he was there, and she just played dumb, I guess? Where's her danger senses here? If she could tell any other time better than detect magic, she had to have known Barkle was here. Did she want to fight him? Question mark? Barkle, you're not getting away today, Shina. Holy Knights, draw your swords. Let's finally bring justice down on the mastermind of that nightmarish slaughter. Barkle grinned wickedly and drew his blade. Shina looked panicked, turned around, and locked eyes with Shiki. She shouted something, but Shiki didn't hear. Again, she's panicking. Why didn't Shina know this? Why does Shina's danger senses work every other time, but not here? Unless it's just not a threat of death. Like she, even at this moment, doesn't fear death. The spidey senses aren't going off because these guys are weak? But I'm assuming she's probably telling Shiki to get the hell out of here. Holy Knights, they're back. Two factions slaughtering each other ahead of them. No way out. Perfect. Shiki was thrilled. That was her chance. She's like, now I can get out of here. She ran away. God. She's like, yes, I can run away finally. Well, Shina's not going to disapprove of it. Shina won't disapprove it. She said to run away when there's death there. So I won't have to worry about her. The flowing clouds, a cloudy girl here, she's not going to say anything. She barely talks at all. And Owl's probably going to be so confused to really react at all. Shiki was thrilled. This was her chance. She ran away, straight towards the cliff, where the two groups were clashing, and then she leapt off it. Towards the other group, I guess because they're not going to be a threat, or at least run over there and tell them you all been faked out. She got to go over there and tell them, y'all, those dudes up there caused all this. But again, these people are fighting like crazy. I doubt they care. They hate each other more than anything right now. Guys, I got to stop somewhere. I think that's probably the best point to stop there. There's kind of a bullet stop point right here. And so I think this is probably a good transition point. I don't know what's ahead and if we're going to get into something else, but I'm going to stop it there. Chat, as she leaps off the cliff, we're going to have a cliffhanger. This is a legit physical, theoretical, literal cliffhanger right here. We're gonna cliffhanger right here with Shiki off the cliff. But yeah, I'm gonna stop it there. Really good set of chapters. This is kind of similar to the previous Mushoku Monday. Like previous Mushoku Monday, we got all into Shina, got into why she got this Death God title. Now we're getting into Shiki, and again, a lot about her job, all these rules that she kind of follows, and again, a lot of the fears and uncertain that's going through her mind right now. And it's a lot to do with the fact that she doesn't like. She got doki about. There's a lot of her getting crushing over Al, but at some point she snapped out of it. Like, okay, he's super cool. He saved my life, but the Prince Charming thing kind of got pushed away the moment she realized that Prince Charming is like this battle crazed guy that seems to be going off to his death. Like, he can be hot all he wants, but if you're on the back of that horse and he's riding off the cliff, you gotta eventually jump off that horse, right? That's what's happening right now. She's like, oh, my Prince Charming, Mr. Charming, this is not good. We gotta jump off. Jump off. Not good. Warning. That's sort of the sense that I'm getting with this whole like story bit right here, but I like getting more into Shiki. Again, similar to getting into Shina and figuring out more about these characters. I'm assuming at some point we're going to get into the Clouds Girl. Clouds Girl seems to be important as well, so I'm assuming that eventually we're going to get a Cloud. I'm thinking we're going to get eventually a perspective of her, and it's probably going to tell what happened back there. And again, a lot of it's kind of be locked in her mind. I'm starting to get more of a sense here that she's very locked up. And I don't know if it's because trauma or what. It could just be that she's very like nervous around people. She's very introvert or whatever. She's not good at socializing with people. And so she's stuttering a lot and she can't get the words out. But it kind of gives me a sense here where she got problems of her own that I'll be interested to get into. But good stuff. I also like seeing a lot more into Owl through his reaction to Shiki's questions. This sense of him viewing the battlefield a lot different than other people would. These people sat here and sort of created these scenarios and tactics for how to take on something that is this powerful. Again, getting into why the King of the King Dragon is so different than all the other ones, how long-lived he is, how he's, again, has intelligence, has looked into human techniques and whatnot, has, of course, as always, the gravity magic, as we've always kind of laid out for these dragons specifically. But again, seeing that these individuals played out, all these different scenarios in their head on how to beat them and still lost. So I'm going to go in there with just pure heart. I'm not going to worry about that other stuff. It's just going to be through sheer desire and not having this thought process that you're going to lose. Having all these scenarios play out in your head is the idea of expecting failure. I'm not going to expect failure. And that confidence seems to scare the hell out of Shiki. But again, I'm blown away by the fact that nobody has seen his skill. I'm thinking this is probably going to be the first time they see it. I see two things happening here, possibly. One being that all this stuff goes down and Al's going to wipe the floor with everybody, knock them all out and go, hey, y'all should stop. And everybody will be like, holy crap, how strong is this guy? He wiped out all these people, wiped them all out. Or if during this clash, eventually the King Dragon's going to come down on everybody, slaughter a bunch of them, and then Al's going to have to, at that point, take down the dragon and prove himself. We'll see. How many more pages do we have? I guess the question mark. Okay, we're like, by page count, I think we're like halfway through it. So we're only at the halfway point of this story. So I'm guessing we'll get potentially 3 more parts at least. So, but anyhow, as always, thank you guys so much for dropping by for the premiere. Hey chat, hope you guys enjoy this Mushoku Monday. As always, if you did, again, make sure to hit that like button before you leave. I greatly appreciate your guys' support, your kind words, all that stuff that gets me through this journey through Mushoku Tensei. And as always, greatly appreciate everybody supports channel monetarily through Patreon, tips, links, super thanks, memberships, all that stuff. Thank you. But until the next Mushoku Monday, you'll take care. I'll be riding a little higher. I'll be riding a little high, a little longer. So I'm sorry, Chiki, but I'll be riding a little, but I'll be riding high, but I'll be riding high a little longer. I'll be riding high a little while.